Welcome to Hey Therapist. I'm your host, Leslie Ross. With me is my producer, Jay Wesley Lindley. Let's get mental. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 42. Yes, I believe that's where we are at. I know, my little baby podcast is growing up, hopefully, I gain listeners. It's slowly building.
Yeah,
we're getting there. If I can get those TikTok listeners up, then I can start doing lives and go that route.
Yeah.
So I've got to get those followers on the TikTok. But today I have with me my cousin, Daidrie, and she also has her own podcast.
Yes, Kitty Whispers podcast. We've been on Regrettable. We recorded with them, but I'm missing my counterpart, but that's okay.
Regrettable hadn't had me yet. I don't know. I think they're afraid of me.
I think they are too. They're like, we're going to talk about mental health. No,
we're not doing that.
We're all messed up. Me and Lauren are all about talking about mental health and those types of things. So
yeah, it's good. And we had a episode early on, a crossover, Hey Therapist and Kitty Whispers.
We did, but the audio was so terrible. We've come a long way.
Tell everyone when they're like, oh, I want to listen to your podcast. I'm like, start at like episode 10 or something. Like there's good information in the earlier ones.
Yes.
But the sound is not quite there. When I first started doing the video is not quite there. Like it's just,
it's every podcaster's process.
It is. You got to learn. And luckily I have the Washburn's home studio here to record in, and
you have the professionals.
That's right. Producer Jay, who sets us up with all the good equipment and makes us sound as good as I can sound with this kind of voice. So here we are.
I like your voice. Even Russell, he's like, I think I was listening to your podcast this week when I was getting ready, and he was like, I really like Leslie's voice. And I was like,
well, that's good. I think is for you who podcast and edits, because you have to edit yours too.
Yeah,
you get real sick of your own voice.
Oh yeah,
and you're like, I sound like that.
I
Oh my god, I don't want to do this again.
Mine is the facial expressions. It's so funny. Lauren and I crack up because it's like one of us will be talking and then one of us will make a face, and I'm like, God, we say so much with our eyes, and that's the worst part.
Yes,
but it's fun.
It's fun. So she came up to visit, and I've drug her into recording. And
she did not drag me. I wanted to be here. Yeah, we talk about stuff constantly.
Yes, we do.
So I was like, we might as well record all this
today. I don't know. Where do you want to start? I don't know. Day's been going through it.
Oh yeah.
We talk a lot about relationships and everything on this podcast and on theirs. We talk a little more about the ins and outs and communication and trust and all of those things, which have been the downfall for Daidrie's relationship.
My most recent relationship.
Because he did not communicate well or trust.
Honestly, I feel like he over communicated.
You think?
It was like
until he was lying and keeping things from
fucking
you.
Record.
Oh, well, that's true.
And that would get like exhausting to me because I'm like, we've already discussed this 1,000 times. Yeah, it's just been a rough year in general.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think whenever you're going through such a tough year and you're in a new relationship, that was probably the hardest part. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because starting the relationship, I guess we're going to dive right in.
Yeah, let's dive right in.
You know, I met him whenever I was, living in Dallas by myself and, in a really great place mentally and professionally. And, life happens and shit kind of hit the fan. And like, as our relationship evolved and we became more serious, I basically told him like, I am not in a mental headspace to give you what you deserve and what you need. And so it's like either you'll have to pick up that slack if you really want this with me, or you just kind of have to take it or leave it. So I feel like I was pretty honest about it. I don't think he had a good understanding of like depression and everything. And so he never was super empathetic to me and like what I was going through. And I wasn't familiar with it. Leading up to last year, I've only ever struggled with like anxiety and things like that. And, you know, I never could wrap my mind around people that take their own lives or have that thought process or even things that come in their mind. Cause I'm like, well, I've never experienced that. So it's hard for me to relate. But whenever you do start to have those thoughts, and then like your biggest support, who is like your significant other, doesn't understand the emotional, you know, mindset that you're in, it's just, there was just a barrier there.
Right.
And so, yeah, it just got to where it was difficult. And then in the end, he kind of used it against me, and it was shitty.
Yeah, it is shitty when you use someone's struggles that they have been open and honest with. You know, it would have been different if you would have kept plugging through and he's like, listen, I really need this. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And, you know, you weren't even trying because you didn't have the capacity. But it's like, listen, this is what is going on with me. It's not that you didn't want the relationship, and it's not that you didn't want him. It was, I don't have everything to give. And it goes back to, there was an earlier podcast where we talked about, you know, percentages of gives. Like relationships are never 50-50. It's 80-20 sometimes, or 40-60, and it levels out. And like him not being willing to carry that other percentage is really not unfair. Now, it's his choice, and some people can't handle with people who are struggling. And that's, you know, if you know that about yourself and you opt out of a relationship, that's fine too. Shitty, but it's fine. Yeah. But usually the people that can't handle someone else's mental health being low are the ones who are themselves also struggling with things.
And with him, I mean, I would tell him all the time, and this is something he used against me later, is I was and Lauren, kind of my co-host of Kitty Whispers, her and I talked about this on last week's episode, or I think it's coming out this week. There was a point where I was like, you deserve so much more than what I can give you. And I would tell him that all the time. And not that I'm like sitting here saying that I don't deserve happiness or I didn't think I was good enough for him, because that's not the case. Like, obviously I wanted all those things, but I was such in a mindset and unhappiness. And like we were long distance. Like the intimacy connection wasn't there because I was not there. And so I would tell him all the time, like, you just deserve better. You deserve someone who's healthier than I am right now, because I can't give you all of that. And then he like used it against me and was like, you used to tell me, you know, I deserved better. So you even knew that I deserved better than what. And I was just like, but Lauren got really emotional when I was telling her that, because she's like, you never told me that you said that. And she's like, why would you never, like, you're the most wonderful person on the planet. Like, you're my favorite person. Like, why would you think? And I was like, it wasn't that I didn't think I wasn't worthy of his love. It's that I just couldn't give him what he needed. And I was trying to make that clear. But he spun it in a way that I was like telling him that I wasn't good enough.
Right.
Because he was, and I didn't appreciate that, because I'm like, you're using my depression against me. And that's when I was like, there's such a disconnect on, you have no empathy for people that are going through this, or even just knowledge of it. Now that I look back, I mean, he was a wonderful boyfriend and supportive and all those things, but he still didn't have I mean, he would tell me to go outside, get some sun, put your feet in the grass. That'll heal your depression. And I'm like, no, it won't.
Me being grounded is not going to just heal my depression real quickly. Like, that's not. But he also didn't trust you either.
No.
And that's an issue.
It was a huge issue. And I'm so mad at myself for putting up with it for the year that I did. And I think he like started with the trust issues, and then it kind of backed off. Yeah. And it was fine. And then, like, you know, we were making plans for me to move. And I was taking those steps. And it's like, you know, the last month was a freaking nightmare, because he was, and I don't know if he was feeling insecure about, you know, me coming there. I'm his first person that he's probably lived with female wise. And I mean, I had no doubts. I knew things were going to be great. I knew we do better together than we do apart, because long distance sucks.
And most people do. Like, you can have a great long distance relationship, but you need that time together. It is easy to have more doubts and more insecurities within the stability of your relationship when it is long distance. You can trust someone all day. You can have a good relationship long distance, but you need that time together too.
Yes.
So you can get your dopamine up, get everything reassessed, spend some time together, and then you have to separate for a little bit, but you've gotten that little boost, okay, everything is okay. We still have the connection. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have to go back to our other places right now.
Exactly.
And then you're planning to move.
Yeah, because I knew, I was like, we bicker a lot when we're apart because, it's in the middle of baseball season. He is balls to the wall, busy. I was busy. And so there was such a disconnect with communication. But when we were together, we communicated better. The intimacy was better. We did really well. So I made the decision, okay, in order for us to take this next step in our relationship, even though I told him, no, I'm not moving before.
Right.
But then finally I was like, you know what? I do love this person. I've talked to my family. They're supportive. I'm going to make this move. I don't think that was enough for him, I guess, because he immediately dove into then questioning our relationship and men that I had past relationships with that were prior to him.
Right.
And I'm like,
you don't get to do that.
No. I'm like, the fact that you are bringing up things that aren't valid to our current situation is crazy.
Crazy.
And it was making me feel crazy. Getting migraines trying to explain to him of this scenario, and then he would listen to the podcast. Well, you said this, but you're telling me this, and I'm like, I don't owe you an explanation,
right?
But he says that I did, and I think that is wild. And I will say this, and my mom. So I am very bad about having relationships, but I generally. I feel like I friend zone a lot of people that I date. We become close and friendly, and I've never really ended a relationship with someone that we don't remain cordial.
Right.
Or they check in and want to make sure I'm doing okay.
Because there's nothing wrong with keeping in touch if the relationship didn't work out.
Exactly. And so that's all. And I wouldn't say I have all these guy friends, but yeah, there's men that have come in and out of my life that still check on me.
Sure. Or
there would be an inside joke between us or something that we enjoyed watching together, and they'll send me a meme about it.
Well, and it's like we were talking about earlier, it's insane that you can have this life with someone, no matter how long or short, but you have this intimacy, you have this life, you have this love, you have all of these things, and then it's just dead.
Yeah.
Why does it doesn't have to be that way. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but we don't have to completely cut each other
off. You didn't exist. And that's my thing is I feel like everybody comes into your life for a reason. I don't know. Everybody I've had a relationship with, I have learned something from, or even if it was a negative thing, oh, that's something I don't want to put up with. But they're
I thought I would like that. And now that I have someone that does that, I don't, that's not what I want.
And even, for instance, I used to date this guy that lived in Kansas, and him and I had such a connection when it came to Game of Thrones or The Office and things like that him and I will still send memes, or we'll bring up those things. And it's because that was something we enjoyed together. Right. And it's not even about me having an intimate relationship with him. It's literally a friendship. And maybe I'm wrong for that, because my mom was like, yeah, he's justified in being annoyed by that because you are his girlfriend. You wouldn't want females reaching out to him. I'm like, yeah, I guess you have a point.
But it's not a female reaching out in the, no, I wouldn't want a female reaching out to my man saying, I want to be with you. Oh, let's do this. But if it's oh, hi, you remember that? Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. I don't know that you, would you be annoyed by that?
I think it depends on the dynamic of the relationship.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because with him, I wouldn't have, because I trusted him wholeheartedly. Sure. With my very long-term relationship where my ex cheated, that's different, because then I'm like, who is this person?
Sure.
What were they to you? Which I don't want to question. I don't want to be in a relationship where I feel the need to check someone's phone.
You shouldn't.
I think that's crazy.
Or where you're intimidated by other, like
Yes.
like I said last episode, if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat.
Yeah.
But if you have trust in your partner and you have a good relationship and you have all of those things, it doesn't matter if there's an ex around, if there's these things, because you've had those conversations about why they're an ex.
Yeah.
And why you're not with them anymore, and maybe you end up back with them. But, sometimes things happen.
Sometimes, and that was his biggest thing, is he was like, the only reason an ex fling would be in contact with you is to keep that door open. Like, the second they think they have a foot in the door, they're going to try to slide in.
I just don't think that's true all the time.
I don't think it's true at all the time, because there are a lot of people I have, we went from literally just being like an intimate scenario to I couldn't even see them in that way anymore.
Right.
And then they very much knew about my relationship. They knew about the move, like all these things. And so I don't know. I have a hard time with that, I guess I could say.
We want to be trusted. And if you don't trust me enough to say, listen, I will show you what we're messaging. You can be in my phone. I don't have anything. I mean, there may be conversations. I always say, if you go through my phone, you're probably going to find something you don't like.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be me bitching about you to my friends or my sister or someone. Like, it's not going to be anything inappropriate. I'm not having any kind of inappropriate conversations. No. It may be with men. It may be with someone I have dated or had some sort of relationship with.
Yeah.
But you can read it and see that it's not in any way threatening to our relationship. They're not trying to keep a door open. They're not going, so you still got that man? You still with?
Exactly.
Like, are you happy? Are you sure you're happy? Because I can make you happy. Like, I wouldn't allow that.
If it were that, and I told him that. I said, if those were the type of messages I was receiving, I would shut it down.
Right.
But it wasn't the case. Like, ever. That's how I knew he must not have felt that threatened by it, because he went through my phone without my knowledge.
Oh, let's talk about that. Let's talk about going through people's phones.
Yeah, because look at me like sticking my feet up in the air.
It's okay. I was propped up on that table last time. So
I've been in a relationship where, I was cheated on in college, and then we decided to move past that and, start our adult life together. And I told him, you know what? It's clean slate. I'm not going to go through your phone. I don't want to feel the need to go through your phone.
Right.
I'm going to trust you and trust that you have our best interest at heart. Well, he didn't. And eventually I found out it wasn't because I went through his phone. It was because I had a female reach out to me. I could have gone through his phone, but I don't want to be that person. I'm not that type of girlfriend. I just trust that you're doing the right thing on our behalf. And so with him, I had nothing to hide. He used my phone for things all the time. If it was Spotify, looking something up, whatever, I gave him the code. And it was the same scenario. He came in and he was like, hey, babe, can I use your phone for Spotify while I cook? And I was getting in the shower and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Handed him my phone. If I would have thought something was on there, and maybe I should have deleted old shit, but I didn't think he would.
But it's old shit and you're in a new relationship. It shouldn't matter.
He would have had to search. He would have had to have searched.
Yeah, you said
names.
He did a deep dive.
He did a deep dive because these were text messages from like 6+ months ago. And he would have had to, and that's what's another weird thing. He, I guess, remembered names and stuff. And I was like, I think he was basically investigating me like I was a fucking serial killer or something. Like he probably had a wall with like red yarn. Like
he had a note in his phone, a PowerPoint in his phone that has like one of those
with dates and times and this episode of the podcast, and she called this person this name and da da da. Like. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is like next level obsessive crazy. And he took my phone, recorded video with his phone of the text conversations, and then sat on it. Didn't say a word to me for at least over a week. And I was like, if it was that bad, I mean, if I found something in my person's phone.
When you got out of the shower,
I'd been like, what the fuck? But he sat on it. And I'm like,
that's the crazy part to me.
That's what, to me, was calculated. And he was
so
like using it as leverage for his wrongdoings, what I think. And because he felt guilty about something himself. And I'm just like, this is this is crazy. And that's when I decided I can't do this shit anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I have my own crap that I'm dealing with. Moving alone has been very hard and stressful and wearing on my heart, and I'm not moving across the country for someone that
doesn't trust you.
That doesn't trust me.
Because that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
Is you either don't trust yourself, which, okay, or you don't trust me. And either way, this is not how we start a solid foundation of a relationship.
Because trust is the foundation of everything.
It absolutely is. Because there's going to be times where you may have to spend, there's a lot of jobs that you never have to do anything out of town. You go to work, you come home, and you're there, and they go to work, and they come home, and they're there, and you spend all that time together. But for the careers that you both have, there's times where you're going to be out late. You may have a banquet that you are putting on and promoting with DLR Consulting Group and marketing it and all of those things. So you may be out late, and then he was out all day or out late for a ball game. And so there are times where you may not exactly know where each other are, which, you can share locations and know someone's in the general area.
But he had my location.
But that doesn't mean they're not doing anything in that area.
Right.
But you trust that. Yeah. And you need to trust that.
Yeah.
And if you're with someone that you don't trust that, don't be with that person.
No.
Because unless they're willing to say, you know what? I got hella trust issues. And I love you and I want to be with you, but I have hella trust issues. And this is what I need. I need to be able to just look in your phone every now and then. And I need to have your location.
And I just wouldn't ever be okay with
and
that.
And that's okay.
To me, I think that's you need to go to therapy and you need to work through those things.
And if they were, then if they said, listen, I'm working on it. But right now, in the beginning, can we share location? And this is after you're established, because you're not going to say that on the first date, right? Listen, I'm a needy son of a bitch. I need all this stuff.
And we shared locations.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with sharing a location unless you're using it against someone. But if you're sharing location for safety and to say, oh, you're still at work, so I'm not going to call you or whatever it is, just for general anxiety lowering, great. Yeah. Do that. If you're traveling and he traveled, I don't want to message you and with my nonsense and be like, where are you at? Are you there? Let me just look and go, oh, you're almost there. They're almost home. They're almost at the place they're going, whatever it is. And then you don't have to know about my neuroticism that I have about making sure you're safe. That's been ingrained in me by my mother. So thanks, Mom. It's one of those things that it makes me feel better to know. And I'm not using it punitively.
Exactly.
I don't care if you take a different route home. I'm not going to ask you about that. I don't care if you stopped at the store, the liquor store or the gas station or some other place and you were there for this amount of time. I'm not going to care because you are a grown ass person and you've been living your life way longer than before I was in it.
Yeah.
But if you are tracking me and you're going, why did you go that way home?
Okay. That would be crazy.
Why did you stop? Because I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Why did you stop there? Why were you there for so long? And I'm like, why the fuck are you worried about it? You need to chill.
Yeah.
Because I have never done anything to give you any reasons to not trust me.
Exactly.
But if they went in and said, listen, I have trust issues, and I know it's because of my past, and I know all of these things, what I would really like, and this would be after you are official, you are, in a serious relationship with each other. And they say, listen, it would really help me if you would do XYZ for me right now. I am working on it. It is something that I am in therapy for, or I've got a book, or I'm internalizing it, and I'm really trying to change my thought patterns, and I'm really working on it. I just need your help right now so I can really prove to myself that I can trust you. And it's not about you. Yeah. It's really, most people's issues are never about the person they're with at the time. It's something within them when it comes to the trust issues, the aggression, the anger, all of that. So if they're like, listen, I know it's a me thing. I have no reason to not trust you, but there may be a time that I pick up your phone and go through it. I know that I may see things that I don't want because, listen, there are times when people send you the messages. They're like, hey, girl, hadn't heard from you in a while. It's like, okay, but do you see my response? That's the important part, is my response to that. Yeah. Hey, do you want to go to dinner? Because when we had talked about it, you had an ex and he was in town and he wanted to go to dinner, and you even said in the message, great, my man is supposed to be here. We could all go together. You could meet him. Yeah. And that was the conversation. But that conversation even got used against you. And that's what I find crazy.
Yeah, exactly. There was a couple of times, one in particular, that I was at home, and I guess he checked my location, and I don't know, for some reason my location was telling him that I was located like streets over from where I was at or something.
iPhone location is never super accurate.
Yeah. And I was like, I mean, I was such a bitch too. Like, he goes, why is it saying you're here? And I was like, oh, well, I decided to go get dick down a few streets over. And he goes, but it says you're in the river. I was like, yeah, after that happened, we decided to go fishing. Because I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
But this was already, like, you were already well into this non-trusting.
Yes.
Too,
and so at this point, I was
in her defense, she didn't start out with that, with his first questioning of it.
No, but I'm like,
later
what the
on.
fuck are you asking me? You know I'm at home. Obviously, if it says I'm 2 streets over, it's a phone glitch of some sort. And then he's like, but she says you're in the river. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, I went for a quick swim.
In this fucking river down the street from me.
In the middle of January.
And I was like, no, I'm at fucking home. And then he's like calling me or FaceTiming me to like confirm. And I was so annoyed by that. I don't know. I've been in relationships where the trust is shitty, but mainly with my ex Kenny that I dated for a very long time, and rightfully so. I told my current ex that I'm like, I go into every relationship trusting you until you give me a reason not to.
Right.
And
which is what you should do.
Exactly. And so I'm like, so the fact that you're just out the gate whenever he really hasn't even ever had a serious relationship.
I didn't know that part, I don't think.
He dated like one girl in college that pulled a stunt, but I think he was obsessive with her as well.
Probably.
And so I'm like, you realize you've never really even had like a serious relationship. And so you really can't justify this behavior.
Right.
And the fact that you're just like so over the top controlling. And then we had worked through a lot of it. And I said,
you had, which is why I was on board. Because there was a time I was not on board. And then after y'all had done a lot of work, and he was saying all the right things, and then just flip the switch.
Yeah, and it was like April 1st, we had a blowout, and been like, okay, well, moving forward, none of these past things are going to be brought up because I'm done. Like, I'm fed up with talking about it. There is nothing for you to be worried about. If it's not valid to our relationship, then it needs to be let go. Like, just don't bring it up again. And then it was like 2 weeks later, it got all brought up again. And I was just like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. This is crazy. And yeah, there was nothing I could have done to make him feel. He needed constant affirmation.
Sure.
And I'm not the girl to do that. I'm not an affirmation person. And I wish I was.
But I don't even know. I don't think the constant affirmation would have corrected the complete distrust he had, though.
I know.
Like, you can affirm someone and be like, yes, I love you. I want to be with you. I want to be with you. But I want to be with you, which you had been doing. I mean, he knew that when you were out there visiting, and he still felt the need to go into your phone and screen record as he scrolls through your phone. Like, those are two completely separate things.
He just was trying to catch me in a lie.
Which is shitty. Don't do it. Just nut up and say, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. Or say, I don't trust you. And let's talk about it. Like, why don't you trust me? What do you need then? And let me figure out if that's something that I can provide for you. Because it may be, it may not be. You said earlier, and it's one of the things that's so important when you have a dust up in a relationship, when you have something that creates conflict and you have these blowouts, if they turn into that, or these big arguments or whatever it is, and you have the conversations and everyone says, because he did say too, but everyone says, okay, I'm good. I get it. I understand. We're moving forward. Then you have to drop it. You don't get to bring it back up. No. And it's just like if someone did cheat on you. Like, if they cheat on you and you say, I forgive you, then you forgive them, which means you have to trust them.
Yeah.
You don't get to act pissy. You don't get to bring it up. You don't get to do any of those things. You say, okay, you know what? I forgive you, and moving forward.
Yeah.
This is where we are. And you have to stand by that. And I've dealt with many couples in therapy where they'll say, yeah, I'm done. We're okay. We're moving forward. And then we'll rock on and we'll be, 2-3 months down the line and we'll be working on other things. And like, but you, and I'm like, whoa, nope. Because we were supposed to be done with that. And if you're not done, then say, I'm not done with it. I'm not over it. I'm still hurt by this. This is still bothering me. You don't say, okay, we're good. And you're not good, because that's not fair. No. It's not fair.
Well, and that's what he was like, no, you said you were ready to move on, and I wasn't ready to like let that stuff go.
But you didn't say I'm not ready for it.
No, he didn't.
Use your words, because he didn't have any problem using his words after you broke up.
No. And I feel like whenever he was acting how he was acting, it started making me in retaliation, because there was
can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. And there was a scenario where I'm like, okay, you're not going to bitch at me about something and not respect that as well. And so there was a scenario where he was like, I'm going to go to dinner with some of the other coaches. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But we had a 2-hour time difference. And it's like, I was waiting on him to call me. It was just supposed to be dinner. And so I looked to check his location, and he's literally in a moving vehicle headed towards San Francisco.
What?
And I was like you can see it moving
right
toward the city. And I texted him and I was like, why are you headed toward the city? And he goes, oh, you're always one step ahead of me, babe. We decided to go out. And I was like,
if the shoe was on the other foot,
you would have lost your shit.
FaceTime me and tell me who you're in the car with.
And it was after he had broken the trust that he did.
Right.
And I was like, no, you're at dinner. Y'all had the conversation. We're going to go out. You owe me enough respect to call me as you're getting in the vehicle.
Or a text, anything.
Because I'm sitting here waiting on you to call, because I hadn't talked to you all day.
And he knows that.
And he ended up going out. I got mad. I was mad. Because he would have, if the shoe was on the other foot, he would have flipped a lid. And I'm like, this is a problem. And so it was almost like we were working against each other at that point than trying to make it. It was just immature, really.
It was. And, again, going to any relationship is hard. Like, any relationship is hard. But if you are long distance, there is a level of grace that you have to give your partner. Yeah. And there's a level of respect and the checking in. Like you said, y'all had been in a relationship long enough that a simple text, hey, I know, hey, we're headed out to the bar. I may not have time to call. I'll call you first thing in the morning. I'll check in. I'll message you when I get home.
Even if he's in the drive. He wasn't driving. He was riding. So that during this 30-minute drive to San Francisco, you didn't think to text your girlfriend and say, we're going to go out to the bar?
Plans completely changed.
Yeah. When I was still struggling, forgiving him. Because, and if you really want the backstory, we had broken up in January for a very short stint of time.
It was a break.
It was basically a break. We were Rachel and Ross.
I can understand that situation.
We were 1,000% Rachel and Ross. And 2 weeks go by. I found this all out later, whenever we got back together. And after he went through my phone, because I'm assuming he wanted to use that as leverage to
justify his
bad behavior. And he can't lie to me. He was not doing a good job of showing his guilt. It was all over him. And I just kept picking up on these cues. And I'm like, why are you acting weird? And why I found these things. And, just based on your facial expression when I say this, it just seems like you're not telling me something. And come to find out, 2 weeks after we broke up in January, and while we were still very much in contact, he had downloaded Hinge. Took a girl on several dates, according to her, because, yes, I'm that crazy. I fucking reached out to the female. You know why? Because he always would tell me I was lying. I was making sure he wasn't lying. And guess what? Caught him in a few lies. Who's the one that can't be trusted now? So he fucks this girl, has sex with this girl, and then, we end up getting back together. I go there, doesn't even mention it, and then we have unprotected sex after him being with that female. My heart was so broken that someone that supposedly loved me so much could so easily just jump back on a dating app and get it in with a random female that, I'm sorry, but didn't hold a flame to me or whatever the saying is. And I'm just like, no, like, you're not going to do this, create all these trust problems,
right,
and then blame me, and then be driving down to go out to the bar with all your single buddies and not have the decency to call and tell me as your girlfriend, because you would lose your shit if I did that. Yeah. But then, you know, after I finally ended the relationship and I get that nasty text from him, I don't know if he was trying to trigger a crazy reaction from me, but he was just blaming me for everything.
And he used the language. I'm like, did he chat GPT this?
I think
because
so.
the language, when you sent me the text and I'm reading it, because yes, that's what we do. We screenshot, we send.
Yeah.
We have conversations about it.
She's a therapist, and y'all, he was using gaslighting, narcissist, like all this shit. And I'm like, what?
When I first started reading it, I thought so the first thing that you sent me, I thought it was like what you had kind of sent to him. And then it was going to be a response from him. And then as I read, because I'm like, okay, this are the things that he has done to her, like the lying and the gaslight, like these. Okay, yes. And then as I read more, I'm like, oh, fuck, this is the one he sent her.
This is a message I woke up to.
And I was like, holy
I literally just asked if he had mailed my computer charger back. And I get this
rant
and just beating me the fuck down.
It was so disrespectful,
and it broke my
unnecessary.
Heart. I was so devastated after receiving that text, because I'm like, the fact that I dated this person for well over a year and that's how he truly feels about me, I was just like, that's just who he is, though.
Yeah, I think so, and I am just so grateful you found out before you moved.
Yeah. Because I just think he's one of those people, and he made it very clear, like, if we ever break up, I will have nothing to do with you.
Okay. Threaten me with a good time.
And I'm like, okay. Like, because basically he's like, I'm not going to be like these other guys who want to keep a relationship with you and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine.
Like, but I'm cool. But that's why people want to keep a relationship with me.
I'm a chill, kind person. Like, and for him to just, like, send me all that stuff that I'm a narcissist.
It was insane.
I'm like, you don't even know.
I was like, are you looking in the mirror? That's what I was thinking. I was like, so he's putting all of the things that he
looks at himself in the mirror and he's happy with what he sees. And I'm like,
he's looking in the mirror and seeing all of those things he sent you is what's happening. Because, bro, it was brutal.
Was very toxic.
It hurt my heart for you.
I know. Like, it hurt my heart so bad that I'm like, wow. Like, I confided in this person. I trusted this person. I let him in, which
you were going to change your life.
Was literally going to move my entire life away from everything that's comfortable to me to be with this person. And he thinks these things about me.
It was shocking.
Yeah.
But at least you know what he thinks of you now. At least he didn't leave you hanging.
I mean, I still haven't received my fucking charger.
Rat bastard.
And I'm just like, whatever.
Hey, we know an attorney. We can have her write a letter.
I know he mailed it. I just don't know. Maybe. He probably honestly watched the cord be like fucking cut when it gets here.
He mailed it to your apartment.
Who knows? Or there'll probably be like, I hate you note in there. Something's going to be included with the charger.
Probably.
That.
A bill for his therapy. Oh, wait. He's not actually doing that, I don't think.
He started therapy?
He says he started therapy.
What's funny is I'm pretty sure he started therapy to try to get that person to justify what he was doing.
A lot of people do that.
Because I think that's another reason he sat on the information of going through my phone, because I think he wanted to have the conversation with his therapist of, this is what I found. How do I have this conversation with her?
And his therapist was probably like, let me see. Because I would have said, listen, I am that therapist. And I'm like, show me. I'm not going to take your word for it. Show me what you're reading into. Because when we're emotional too, and we get messages from people, like, we read into it what we're feeling, not possibly, which is why texting in an emotional state is a terrible idea. Stop it. Stop it. When you're upset, do not send that text.
No.
You can write it. It's fine. Write it. Get it out. Say all the things.
And I've gotten good about that.
Put it in your notes. But open up your note folder and write it. And if you're having to write a text in the notes because it's so big and you need to think you're going to edit it, That is not a text you need to send ever. Stop it. I've been guilty. I think we've all been guilty of sending the book.
The reactive text.
My feelings are hurt. I'm sad. Something's happened. I want to tell you everything I feel, just in case you may have some response to it. If I have someone who's like, they sent me this and I said that, and I'm like, okay, let me read it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times I will take that phone and I will read it in just a very neutral tone. And I'm like, so what did you hear in that time frame? Like, how did you hear it then? And how did you hear what you said? Because almost always there's someone, me. Like, well, you did it. No. That's not how we respond.
No.
So if you're writing that big text, if you're emotional and you feel like you need to just get it out, go to your notes. Go to the notes app on your phone. They all have one. Write it in there. And then select all and delete.
Yeah.
Don't copy and paste. Delete. You've said it all to yourself. Because it's really not going to matter. Because they're probably not listening anyway. And that's the hard part about it.
It really is. And I don't think I realized how much what a toll it was taking on me until I ended it. And now I just feel so much lighter. Like I'm not being questioned about fucking everything.
It's exhausting.
It is so even down to like, even my sister-in-law was like, Daidrie, he would FaceTime you all day long. All day long. I would even be working and I'm like, I'm working. Like and he just would want to FaceTime. Well, I just want to see you. I'm between lessons and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
I think you want to see where I am.
Something.
Because if it felt like I just want to see you, it would have been cute. You would have liked it.
Well, and
but it's that checking in. It felt like he was checking in and
there was
distrustful.
times where I got to where I just didn't answer if I was very busy.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't have the time to give him that attention. Yeah, it just became like constant. And then what else was I going to say? I don't know. It was exhausting. It was definitely taking a toll. And I didn't realize it was taking a toll until later.
Right.
Because I'm like, oh, I know what I was going to say. I consider myself someone that has like a lot of friends. I make friends easily, but at the same time, I'm very choosy with how I spend my time, who I spend my time with. But I have a core group of friends that even when I'm talking to him or I was always going and doing, and he met several of those friends. I never met one friend of his.
Even when you went out to visit?
I met the coaches he worked with.
Does he have friends?
That was a red flag for me. He really didn't have this, like there was one guy that he was good friends with, but he lived across the country. He didn't have, like he had his roommate and they would go and do things, but I think he was so, like I felt like I was his only thing. And I'm like, why don't you have this core group of friends? Like I don't even hear a name frequent enough to know who that person is to you. And I just thought that was weird.
That is interesting.
Because I think it's very unhealthy to go into a relationship and y'all not have a life outside of the relationship.
I agree. Even if it's just with family.
Yeah.
Like you need to have a life. Because it's hard. You know, we get to a point where you're an adult and sometimes you don't have friends or you moved and your friends are away.
Yeah.
But you go visit or they come visit or whatever it is. Or you're talking to, oh, yeah, I was on the phone with so-and-so. And so you do get to know those names. You get to know those people, whatever it is.
Yeah. And he did have cousins and stuff that he would go and do with, but they were females. And even I met them and I'm like, they were kind of flaky and they were flaky with him, like meeting or getting back with him and stuff like that. And so I was like, why are we trying to hang out with this person when they're being flaky? Like, I don't love that. I do want to meet your cousin. Don't get me wrong. But and she was wonderful. All his cousins were. But it was just weird to me that he doesn't have this like core group that he hangs out with regularly. And he went to an all-boy high school.
That's what I was going to say, because he is old enough. It's not like we're talking about someone who is in their 20s and just, you know, if you, because
like
I talked to the nieces.
Age, you have established core group of friends.
Yeah. Because, you know, I talk to nieces and nephews about that a lot when they're like, have these buddies in high school and they're so close. They're like, we're going to be friends forever. And I'm like, you're probably not.
No.
Like, you're most likely not going to be friends forever with the people you went to high school with. You may keep a few. You may have them on socials. You may do those things. But you're going to go to college. You're going to play sports. You're going to get a job. And you're going to make a whole new set of friends. I have my girl gang, and I met them through work, through a job. And we are still friends now. And You know, I have Melissa, and we went to grad school together, and she's family. And, you know, you don't make a lot of friends. Jackie, you know, I made her at work, and she's one of my dearest friends. But I would have never, like, gone up to anyone and been like, hey, let's make friends. You know, it's so hard as an adult to make friends. And when you have them, we hold on to them, and we keep them as long as we can. And to be in the early mid-30s. Yeah. And not have someone that you regularly, like you said, that you mentioned regularly, like, oh yeah, I talked to so-and-so today, or we snap and we do this and I have this, like, because I don't see my friends a whole lot, but we always snap each other or we messenger each other or we're on the phone.
Like, there's people I talk to every day because they're my core group. I mean, I'm one of those weird people that I still have a huge group of my high school girlfriends. We are still best friends. We've been best friends since we're 5. And it is crazy, but there's like 5 of us. And I still talk to them regularly. And then I have my college friends and my work friends. And just from networking, I have friends that I've met that have become my best friends.
Right.
And he had the pleasure of meeting those people. But I never met any. And I went to see him a lot. More than he came here.
You were out there quite a bit.
We would, and even on, this is what was weird. Last time I was out there, it was St. Patty's Day. And I wanted to go and do something fun for St. Patty's Day. And I was like, why don't you make plans with us to go do something with your friends? Like, they've got to all be doing something.
Right. It's
San Francisco has a huge parade. He made no plans for us to do anything. And I sat there and waited on him to get home from work. And like got all ready and even had my little St. Patty's Day outfit on. And he had made no plans for us to meet anyone. Like, it was just him and I all the time. And I'm like, this is so weird.
It is odd.
That you don't have friends.
That's strange. Or friends that you don't want to do anything with, or that you don't want me to meet. So are you hiding me? Are you hiding your friends? Is there something underlying that's going on?
I don't know.
Do you just not have friends? You're not a great person?
Well, even whenever I went to meet his dad for the first time or his family, I never met his stepmom because she never would make the time. But I met his dad, and before we even got there, the whole time he was like telling me what not to do. Don't do this. Don't say that. And I'm like, first of all, sir, I am like a fucking gym.
Right?
Everyone loves me that meets me.
I am a
keeper. If they don't, something is wrong with you. And if you feel the need to tell me, and I know I'm from Texas, we're a little more outgoing than some, no offense, California people, but I haven't met anyone that's just a pleasure from there. Like, even down to like just common courtesy of holding doors open or anything like that. It's just different there. To hear my boyfriend, who acts like he's so in love with me and everything about me, telling me to tone down my personality. And I was like, that's never going to fucking happen. But basically he was like, well, my stepmom, like that side of the family is from Greece, and you know, they're very judgmental, and if you come at them with like this bubbly personality, I just don't want them to. And I'm like, first, if they are judging a young female that you are claiming to love and be in love with based on me just being kind and friendly and bubbly in front of them, that is a problem.
That is a problem.
And that is mean girl behavior. And I don't. And I told him, I said, I don't care 2 shits to meet her if that's how I'm going to be taken.
And culturals can be different. That's fine. But most people from other cultures aren't that judgy about it.
No.
They know. They're like, oh my gosh, she's a loud American. Okay, fine. You can say that about me. But that doesn't mean that I am not pleasant and a joy to be around.
Anyways, but like when he met my family, like I didn't say, like I trusted that he was going to do wonderful.
Sure.
And I didn't have one thing to say, don't do this, don't do that.
Right.
And so when he did that to me, I was just very like taken back by it. Like, what is happening right now?
Right. And it would be, it would be different if he said, listen, my family is these people, because obviously he doesn't spend a lot of time with his family. They're super judgy and they're super religious and they don't curse and they don't drink and they don't. So I'm going to need, like, can you please just, do these? And you would have said, absolutely.
Yeah. And I told him that. I said, if you would have come at me with more of a, they are this way, and I just want to give you a warning.
Right.
Rather than twisting it like I'm the problem and I have to change myself.
But you are the problem.
And he did apologize. He was like, you know what, babe? You were so right. Like, I am sorry that I said it in that way. Obviously, I want you to be yourself and I love everything about you. But I'm like, but why did you immediately say it that way?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just weird to me.
Well, I think it goes back to his communication. Even though you said in the beginning he over communicated, he wasn't over communicating. He wasn't listening. He wasn't speaking to hear.
No. And he there was a couple of times he would call Lauren, my co-host of Kitty Whispers, and ask her how to communicate with me about something. And she was like, well, what do you mean?
Right. Open your mouth and you use your words.
The thing is, he would act like, well, if I say the wrong thing, she'll get upset and blah, blah, blah. And I just want to avoid. And it's like, or he did call her a couple of times to try to get information out of her as well when he wasn't getting it from me. Yep. And she finally told him, you know, like, I'm not doing this. She is my best friend. She is not doing anything wrong. She loves you. You've got to move on and get over it. And she's like, you need to pick a point of when y'all's relationship started and move forward, but you can't keep going back.
Right.
And he was doing the most.
Ugh.
And so, yeah, now that I sit here and yes, he was such a great guy and all these things and supportive. And it's like, now that I think about it, I'm like, there was so many other red flags that I wasn't considering.
Sure. Well, they didn't feel like red flags at the time.
Yeah.
And that's how it is most of the time, right? Is because they do have these other behaviors that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
Like he has redeeming qualities.
Absolutely.
Sure. But he also has this other side of him that makes you feel not good about yourself.
No.
And that's a problem.
Yeah. And I think it was because we came into this relationship where I was like a very confident, independent person. And then going through depression and feeling a little down and, you know, those kinds of things. And then he wants to use that against me. And I mean, it was definitely like a shock for my system too. Like, I'm not used to feeling this way.
And he could have been supportive of that. I mean, like, oh my gosh. Okay, so you're going to therapy. Are you doing all of the things you need? Not just get over it and go outside and ground yourself. Like, okay, so there's medications. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about therapy? Is there anything I can do? How can I help?
I was doing the work, and I was doing the work. He didn't want me to be on any sort of medication.
'Cause
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
It's weird. I don't know if it's a California thing. The boy wouldn't even take ibuprofen if he had a headache. Like,
that's weird.
It's fucking weird. And so when we were discussing me moving out there, he was like, you know, babe, when you are out here and you do start feeling better, I would like for you to like get yourself, like try to get off of the medication. And I was like, I don't think that's should be your concern.
Right.
Because he was like, well, if we start a family, like I don't want our children relying on, like it was fucking weird.
Ew.
Yeah. Like, how about that be a conversation I have between me and my gynecologist?
Right.
On if this medication will affect that child. And then I'll go from there.
And how about the fact that the antidepressants, which are needed for a disorder of the brain, like if you had a heart condition, would he tell you just be in better shape? Like,
probably.
I mean,
go out in the sun.
But great people have heart conditions. I mean, there's marathon runners that die of heart attacks, and they may be on heart medications because their heart is misformed. And that's what depression and anxiety, when we have these things, is because there's a part of your brain that's not firing correctly. And that's what the meds are for. So you would rather me not be on medication and possibly be depressed and raising a child in depression and not giving that child all that I could.
Could you imagine the postpartum depression dealing with him?
It'd be terrible. And he would just be like, suck it up. You're a mom now. Like, but I hate my child.
Yeah.
I hate my child because most postpartum women hate their children.
Thoughts. I had one of my best friends the other day.
It's scary.
She called and she was like going through it because she knew I'd been kind of struggling with depression. And she's like, Daidrie, I don't even want to say it out loud. And I was like, it's me. like, you can tell me anything. And she said, it's not that I'm having thoughts of like harming them.
Sure.
She said, I keep having these, it's almost like paranoid thoughts of like, what could happen and what would I do if it did? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're very much having postpartum depression. And it's not, that doesn't make you a bad mom.
It doesn't.
Like, your whole
Everything
organs
just
gets
changed.
moved around. And I even read the other day that it takes a full 2 years for your body to even be functioning the way it was prior to that child.
Because it affects your hormones, it affects your mood. They're sucking your life source.
I mean, your internal organs are literally pushed out for this child. And when you have a C-section, they're moving shit around.
They're cutting you, literally gutting you
open. And I'm like, who wouldn't have these crazy thoughts? I think that's my biggest fear of having children is that.
But there's help for that. And there's so much support group. And that's just one of my dear friends I know who had a baby, and she always wanted to be a mom. Like nothing more drove her. And she had postpartum. And it surprised us all because she never really has struggled with depression or anything. But it just shows, the soul and body sucking that it takes to raise a child. Everything is going into that. You're giving all of your hormones that you have to put into this child, whether it's male or female. Like some of your hormones are being diverted. Your brain is being diverted. Your serotonin, your dopamine, and everything is being diverted to grow another set of those. And then when it's out, you don't have that extra in there. So your body's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Where did all that go? And so we do end up with postpartum. And I tell all the women that I've ever worked with that I'm like, it's okay to dislike your children. And those are women that didn't even have postpartum. Just moms, new moms. It's okay to not like your kid all the time. That doesn't mean you're not going to do what you need to for them. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're not going to feed them and care for them and nurture them and love them. But there can be times where you dislike this thing that is attached to you and took your good body and did all those things. Like, it's okay to not like your kids, and it's okay for postpartum to have those thoughts of hating your children and wishing they weren't there. Again, not that they're going to act on that, not that she's going to do anything to harm her baby in any way. It's just those thoughts. Yeah. And it's scary. And then it makes the woman or whoever's going, because men can get postpartum depression as well. It makes them feel like they're terrible humans because I should never have these thoughts. I shouldn't. And so they may not even seek help for it because they're so ashamed of having those thoughts. And then it turns into chronic depression because it doesn't just go away.
No.
That's what the meds are for.
Yeah.
There's a lot of behavioral things you can do. There's a lot of therapy you can do. But sometimes you just have depression forever because your brain developed in a way that you're going to have depression forever. Sometimes you're going to have anxiety forever because your brain developed in a way you have anxiety. Just like with ADHD, just like with schizophrenia, just like with anything else. It came from somewhere genetically. And medications are there for that.
Yes.
And it's just, it's so frustrating when I hear somebody, well, you shouldn't be on meds. Well, I don't want to be on meds. Like, I'm a terrible medication taker, but if I need them, I need them. And there was a time in my life where I needed them because I hated life. I hated everything. And I was so sad and nothing would make me happy. And it's not like my life was terrible. Like, I just was really depressed.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't understand. It was before I did this work. So now I know the signs of my depression. I know how to deal with it before it gets to the point where I do need medication, because sometimes medication can be a Band-Aid. It can be something that you take to get your brain in the right headspace to do the therapy, to do the work, to figure out what you need and how to move forward and all of that. We take those meds and you start working through what it is, and maybe you can wean off the medication and not need it anymore. Yeah. Maybe you wean down and you're like, no, I'm still like, I feel good. I'm making good choices. I'm having positive thoughts. I'm doing all of the things that I have learned in therapy, but I still don't feel like myself. Yeah. And so we go back on the meds. You're like, okay, that's what I need then.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that
before too.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried to wean myself off, and then I typically need to go back on it just because life happens. And if that's what I need to get me out of bed every day,
that's what I mean,
and function, the way I need to get shit done, then that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
I don't need a man in my life telling me that he would prefer me to get off the medication.
Right. No.
When I'm like, how about you worry about yourself?
How about you worry about yourself? Because I'm better with it. Like, let me be better. Why would you not want me taking something that makes me better?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't fucking make sense.
And it's because they don't need to make a
his
decision.
brain chemistry made sense to me. So.
No. And it's just so, and that's the interesting part is, you know, like you said in the beginning, you had these times where it was great. And then as it went and as it got closer to you making the move is when his behavior really escalated. So was he not ready for you to move and just didn't want to say? Did he not want the relationship? Was he just so scared of, you know, I don't know what it was, but he also didn't communicate that or talk to you about that. He just reacted, and that's not fair.
I mean, he definitely tried to say it wasn't any of that. And I do think he loved me more.
Of course.
Like, I can honestly say, like, whenever we first started dating, I wasn't about it. But I knew he was a good guy. And he was so persistent and he was so consistent. And I was like, you know what? The fact that this guy is consistent and all these other guys I was talking to weren't, that's what I wanted. I wanted consistency. I wanted someone to be like, I'm crazy about you and I'm willing to put in this effort. And I think that's what made me kind of bring my walls down. Okay, I will consider this. And that's the worst part of dating, I think.
It is
because no one is fucking consistent anymore.
It's
like
so
they
hard.
have so many options out there.
Think they do.
They think they do. Or they need that, you know, constant gratification of, oh, I can attract multiple females or whatever. And I'm not going to lie, it is nice getting attention from other people. But like me, I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to have a family. I'm ready to be a mom. And I thought I wanted that with him. And so it has been kind of like a gut punch that that's not going to happen. But I do know the right person will come along eventually. Maybe. If not, it's fine.
They will.
But yeah, that's just the hardest part of dating is like, I feel like I wasted another year of my life trying to build this life with someone that it clearly wasn't going to go that way. Then I feel like I don't want to date. You know, I just want to avoid it. I definitely don't want to get on a dating app.
Ugh.
I would prefer to meet someone authentically, but even last night we were talking like, well, I guess that requires us to get off the sofa because they're not going to fall through the ceiling.
Single men, even though it's a little creepy in theory, and don't do this, but like, can you go door to door?
Just
Like,
door knock.
create a flyer and send it out, like just mass mailer. And then you can pick through the responses. Like, maybe we should just create dating mass mailers. And
They used to have that back in the old
They
In fact,
did.
What's funny is I knew a couple that told me they met
On
based off
Craigslist.
of a newspaper ad.
Yeah.
It was like a dating newspaper ad, and they wrote in of what
if
they
you
were
like
looking
pina
for.
coladas.
Yes, and they didn't see pictures, and they said that, you know, she had responded to his ad in the newspaper, and they've been married for like 30 years at this point. And I'm like, that's awesome. I wish dating apps were like that, because now it's superficial. It's, what does her body look like? What does her face look like? Is she witty in her you know, stuff that she
Right.
posts? And I mean, there was some weird shit that I saw on dating apps.
There's
There was
some
some weird shit I got
weird
from people on dating
Yes.
apps, like getting penis pics like right off the bat. And I'm like, so my Savannah Banana guy reached out a couple weeks ago, and he was like, oh, like, look what popped up on my Facebook. It was my ex, because they have a lot of mutual friends being in the baseball world. And I was like, oh, haha, like, we broke up. Well, come to find out, he had a girlfriend now, which when him and I were dating, his commitment issues
Right.
were kind of the biggest thing. Like, he is such a world traveler and wants to
Sure.
go. And I was ready to settle down, and he just wasn't ready for that. He met this girl, which I'm so happy for him. He met this girl on a plane,
Aw.
headed to somewhere he was traveling, and they are already in a relationship. And I'm like, I'm so happy for you. And he was like telling me, like, you're wonderful. Based on what you're telling me, he has some issues that he needs to work through, and it's ridiculous. And he's like, because I know you.
Right.
I know your personality.
Right. And how you are in a relationship.
And he's like, and all of these things he's saying are not you at all. And he was like, because I think you're wonderful. And he's dumb for letting those issues that he has internally fuck up his entire relationship. But he was like, just promise me you will meet someone authentically and not get back on the dating apps. And I was, because that's where him and I met, was a dating app. And I was like, honestly, I don't even have the energy for it.
No, it's a lot of work.
I would prefer to meet someone authentically, but I was like, no, I have zero intentions of doing that.
I don't blame you. It's hard. It's hard out here.
Yeah. But it just means we have to get out more. And even last night, I was telling Leslie, I'm like, I get out and I would rather be on my sofa. I would rather be snuggling.
But we always have fun when we go. That's the thing is, you're going to have fun, but it is the,
I know.
I got to get up and get ready.
Well, and there's been times where I've literally done that. Like I've like, I do not want to do this. And then I go out and I meet people and then I'm so happy I went. I mean, I've met guys that way.
Sure.
And I'm like, I might not have come tonight and I wouldn't have met you. But yeah, it's
exhausting.
It is exhausting. And going through that whole shit again of like, what's your favorite color? Where are you from? How many siblings do you have?
What do you like? What do you like to do for fun?
I hate it. I hate it.
It's exhausting.
It's so stupid.
Like, I just want to start out with the hard questions.
Yeah.
How many exes do you have? How many of them still contact you? How many children do you have? How many divorces do you have?
Do not ever ask, though, how many people you've slept with.
No, that's never.
I got asked that by my ex.
I'm sure you did.
And I said, 2-minute account. Sorry.
Like, even if that's not true.
Don't judge me for that.
Like, it doesn't matter. That there is nothing good comes from that question.
Like, I think it's weird.
It's weird.
I'm sorry, people, but if you are asking a significant or a potential person you're dating of a body, knock it the fuck off. That is crazy. That is insane. And it's like, who cares? As long as they take care of their health and they're not exposing you to anything, like, just knock it off.
Knock it off.
It's crazy.
Like, I am a grown person.
Grown-ass woman. I am allowed to do with my body what I want. And if that's hook up, if that's go through a hoe phase, you support the hoe phase.
That's it.
Because guess what? I'm a better girlfriend now because I went through the hoe phase when I was young.
Because I got sick of that and went, I want a relationship, actually.
This is getting kind of old.
Actually, I want a relationship. Yeah. I mean, it's just be real about the questions. And what do you really want to know? Like, what is important to you? Ask those questions because nobody gives a shit what somebody's favorite color is. Like, why are we talking about, how was your day? I don't care. What do you do all day?
Yeah,
like, is your day stressful? Do you work with people you like? Do you I want to know what your whole world is about. I don't need to know your favorite color. I don't want to know your favorite band. I will find that out eventually.
That stuff will come out.
All of that is fine. But if we're just going to jump into a conversation, and don't make one side carry the conversation. If you are truly interested in someone, this whole, I'm going to wait even if you meet them in the wild, like, there's no, I'm going to wait to message for 24, 48 hours because I
Stop it.
Stop it.
That is
if
the
you
game.
like the person,
that is playing
message.
games.
Don't play games. We are all too old for that. And I don't care if you're 18 or 68. We are too old to play games. If you like someone and you are interested, show that interest. Be engaged. Be involved. Let them know you're thinking of them. Let them know you care about them. Let them know you want to get to know them. And if they are the only one asking, like if you catch yourself being in a conversation and you are the only one carrying the conversation, you start every conversation, you finish every conversation, you ask all the questions, and maybe they ask you back, but they're not engaging to ask a new question.
They're not interested.
They're not that interested. They're just not.
Like, it's not that interested. They're not interested. If you are not being engaged in conversation with someone you're actively communicating with, they are, what is it called? A soft ghost?
Yes.
They're soft ghosting you.
They may be keeping you on the back burner because maybe they find you attractive and maybe they would want to go out on a date with you if this other thing that they've got going on falls through. Yeah, they're not, they're not interested. Like the attention. And it's time to let that go and move forward. Because as I've said before, and I will say again, and I'll say it right now, if they want to, they will.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both, we were having that conversation last night. We have had guys that don't fucking stop. You don't have to respond. You don't have to say a word. But then we have to be the bad person and be like, I'm not interested. Like, you are communicating way too much. There is no interest here. Just read the room. Because I hated having to send those messages.
I do too.
Like, I don't want to be bitchy. But it's like, stop making us have to do that.
And usually there's already something within those messages. Like if you're blowing me up and I'm responding to you in short answers or whatever, because, you know, and we both have times where we're not going to have our phones. Like it's going to be hours before I can actually respond. And I may read something, but I may not respond. And if you send me a message like, well, I know you read that. Why didn't you respond?
That's crazy.
Bro, because I'm working. And you know I'm working. Because I told you the night before when I did have time to have a conversation with you that I would be tied up all day or whatever it is. And if you're ignoring that, I'm out. And most of the time you can say, well, I was too busy. You know, if someone's just like, oh, I was too busy to respond to you because they never respond, they're not too busy.
No.
Like, but if I give you a heads up.
I keep my phone. If I have someone that I am very interested in and we're talking, I mean, my phone is with me.
All the time.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will be ready to respond when I can.
When I can. Even if it's just run into the bathroom real quick because I am super busy. I'm going to take my phone with me and I'm going to read your message and I'm going to respond while I'm in the bathroom real quick and be like, okay, I got to get back at it. I'll talk to you later. Yeah. Whatever. But you're communicating that. You're letting them know. You know, I dated someone who in the beginning, throughout the most part of our relationship, honestly, it was constant communication. Unless somebody was busy, but constant. And I loved that and he loved that. And now he's like, oh, I'm terrible. He tells people, I'm terrible at responding. I'm terrible at responding to messages.
No, you're not.
And I'm like, bro, I know you're not though.
When you want to respond.
Because we
terrible.
talk 24/7 basically.
Yeah.
And like
that's
you respond and it goes to the, if you want to, you will. Because you wanted to.
If you want to, you will.
And now he's like, oh, I'm a terrible responder. Like you can message him and he won't message you back for a day or two or whatever. Oh, I'm a terrible responder. I'm like, but I know that's not you.
No.
That's not who you are.
No.
Or not who you can be like. Because you weren't that way.
No.
I have proof.
Yeah.
I got the receipts, bro.
Yeah. No, you can definitely tell when there's a shift.
Definitely tell. And that's how I knew like when our relationship shifted at one point because something had happened. We had a break and we got back together and then like it was off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is this different? Well, I don't, this, that, or the other, making excuses. And I'm like, and I know it was because this other thing was in the back of his mind the whole time we were dating again until it was found out. But, it's like, like, don't be that. Because I know you're not that guy. You're just not being honest with me.
Exactly.
And that's the frustrating part. So just be honest and communicate and trust your partner. If you're going to be in a relationship with someone, trust them. If you do not trust them, don't be in the relationship.
No.
Period.
But I don't think he'll ever be in a relationship.
No, I don't think so either.
Mine. Because I'm like, he'll never be able to trust anybody.
No. Or he'll find someone who
he'll find a very weak female.
Who is like, oh my God, I love this. He always wants to know where I am and we FaceTime all the time and da-da-da.
He needs a mousy, weak female. I had one of my guy friends was like, Daidrie, and I don't try to be an alpha female. That is not something I strive to do. But I've been alone a while. I get my shit done. I consider myself an extrovert, introvert. Like I'm not just out there like, look at me. I'm also not going to cow down to some like strong alpha male. This can be 50-50. We will grow 50-50. But I don't need you to strong arm me and be like, I can, I want to do that. I don't need that dominant male figure.
No.
I need it to just be
a partnership.
We
can both be alpha. Like we can both be dominant, independent people and still have a very healthy relationship where we respect each other. We listen to each other. We know that you got shit handled. I got shit handled. We handle shit together. Like we both gonna get it done and not, well, this is the man's role and this is the woman. What?
But at the end of the day, like I don't need you. I don't need you. I want you. I don't need you. And I don't want to need you.
And you should not want me to need you.
No.
Like that's
you
the other part of it.
You can go out of town and shit's going to be handled. I have got things taken care of.
And I'm going to trust you and you're going to trust me and it's going to be fine.
That's just really hard to find right now.
I agree.
So yeah, dating's fun.
And that's where we end it.
That's That should be the title of this episode.
Dating is fun. That's going to be the title.
Fun.
Question
Dot,
mark,
dot.
exclamation point, dot, dot, dot. That's going to be the title. So thank you guys for joining us. For my producer, Jay Lindley, I'm Leslie Ross. Thank you all for joining us. Please send any questions or comments through the website, heytherapist.com, or email help@heytherapist.com. They may be featured on the show anonymously. Hey Therapist is an SEOK radio production and is for your entertainment purposes only. Thank you for joining us. Make good choices.